What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be diving back on into Stoneshard. Pretty excited about this one. I've been playing the game for the last 2 or 3 days, because the last time I featured the game and the previous time, we played two separate classes, but we played from the beginning of the game. This time around, I'm about 10 hours into the game, I guess, and so I've got a much more developed character to show off today along with the game, and the reason why I'm showing off the game is because they are back from their development torpor, and they just released a big content patch, which includes a new epic monster that you can fight with, it includes a brand new faction of bandits, it's got like 20 new items, it's got a list of balance and changes that are like as long as my arm, and so anyways, the developers are back. Why were they gone? Well, people have asked this question a lot on the Steam forums, and the answer is very, very simple. Half of the developers for this game are in Russia, and half of them are, like, in Ukraine. And when I heard that, I was like, woof, poof, yep, that'd do it. That'd do it. And so anyways, Stoneshard has been in early access for a little while, but they just got a big content patch. So we're going to play for about 30 minutes or so and see if it's something that strikes your fancy. I do have some thoughts about this game, having spent like 50 plus hours with it now, and I will give you those thoughts at the end of the video. Now, those are only going to be applicable to the current build as of like August of 2022. The developers are big fans of changing things around and rebalancing things in the early access. And so if you're watching this video in like 2024, it's probably not going to be that helpful because the developers are fans of sweeping changes. But anyways, for right now, we're going to dive back in. If you wanted to check out the early access, you can do that down below in the description. I will have a link for you. Aside from that, you can look down there. And I've got the process of building this character. I've been playing on Twitch for the last couple days, just with like people from the channel and viewers and whatnot. And if you wanted to see that and get more in-depth thoughts about the game and the various systems that exist therein, rather than just a synopsis at the end of this video, you can check out both of those VODs. I'll do my best to highlight them so that they don't get deleted in 90 days, just so they continue to be useful to anybody that wanted to look over there. I'll have all those links for you down in the description, but let's get moving. What is Stoneshard? Stoneshard is a high medieval fantasy open world RPG, which is very heavily influenced by classic roguelikes like Caves of Qud, or Tales of Maj'Eyal, or Stone Soup, or, you know, you name it. This game is very, very heavily influenced by classic roguelikes. It's still more of an RPG than it is a roguelike, but it is much more on the hardcore and RNG-infused side. The difference here being is that the game has this gorgeous pixel art style that just jumps out at the eye and absolutely oozes style and care. This is a game where you are effectively a mercenary that is part of this old man's mercenary company right now. His mercenary company got absolutely bulldozed in the prologue. If you wanted to know the storyline, you're going to have to play the prologue before you make a character to play the main game. But anyways, they got sent on a death mission, like a suicide mission, basically, and now he's trying to figure out who set them up. And you are the only mercenary that effectively he has left. And you're trying to rebuild the company so that you can have trading caravans, and you can take on missions, and you can get established as a force of note in the kingdom. And that's pretty much it. At the beginning of the game, you've got a number of choices that you can make as to what character you want to play. There's no custom characters as of right now, but there will be in the future. It's just grayed out at the moment. And there's a number of different characters. These characters are named. They all have their own backstory. Characters in-game will reference their backstories if they're aware of them, depending on who you choose. There is a hedge knight, which is effectively a knight that has no lands. There is a dwarvish berserker, which is who we are currently playing. There are wizards, there are rangers, there are pikemen. There's a bunch of different choices that you can participate in if you wanted to get yourself a character inside of this game. And in fact, you will have to if you want to play. That's right, you can't just float around the game as an ethereal non-sprite. I need to buy some food, because this game does incorporate survival elements. You have to feed yourself. You have to water yourself while you're running around. If you take a look in your character sheet, you have various body parts, and if those body parts get injured, you get Tarkov-style debuffs like broken hand bones and things of that nature that you're going to have to deal with. Otherwise, your combat efficiency is going to be very, very severely reduced. And so this is one of those games that it does have things that I think people should know about before they purchase it, but it is a very in-depth RPG, the likes of which I don't think there's too many of them out there that exist. And I think that's the fundamental appeal of this game, is that I think the developers are trying to create an experience that other RPGs can't really encompass. And I think that's a good thing. I like novelty. I like it when games dare to be weird. So with where I am in the game right now, my character currently has a quest to go to a crypt and figure out what's been going on over there. The crypt has been glowing with a spooky light in the dark, and they haven't had the money to send anybody over there, and there haven't been any mercenaries anyways, because the kingdom is currently in tatters. The kingdom just came out of a civil war, and so there's really no law enforcement. There's nobody in charge. Basically, the entire kingdom is arranged into like little city-states right now that are self-governing and just sort of waiting for somebody to unite them under the same banner. And so if you're watching me play this game and as I travel along the roads, you're like, man, it's really violent and awful here. It's because of war just ended, and there's no jobs, and there's no economy, and so all of the soldiers that were recently just kind of fighting against each other have just become brigands with all of that training and all that gear and whatnot, and they just plague the roads. Because there's no mercenaries or law enforcement around, there's also monsters rampaging all over the place because they're not being swiftly put down like they used to be. But our company is attempting to change that with just a little bit of beard oil and some solid dwarvish grit. And frankly, that's the kind of thing that I can get behind, because I've always said on this channel that dwarves are the superior choice in any fantasy setting. Like, yes, you can pick other groups like halflings, humans, elves, but why would you when dwarves are so clearly an option? This is actually not good. I don't know if we can take this fight. I'm going to try to take this fight, but it may go really, really poorly. What you need to understand about this game is that this game is kind of realistic in the respect that one guy's chance of fighting off like 4 guys at once actually pretty low. Yeah, we're not feeling too good right now. Not feeling too great. We did get a little burst of confidence right there because my morale is high. But we are whiffing a lot right now on the old RNG dice rolls. Please die. Oh my god, with 3 HP left, my man is torched. All I wanted to do was go do my dwarfish quest. That's all that I wanted. But as you can see, this game is hyper deadly. You can die very, very, very quickly in this game. And if you're wondering why my HP down here at the bottom has been reduced down from its previous value, pretty simple explanation for that. If you look, our body parts have become injured. We've got a head injury and we've got torso injuries. I can't go quest like this. If I go quest like this, I am basically signing up to die. So what I need to do is I need to go back to town, and I forgot to buy medical supplies. So we need to go spend a bunch of money buying splints and ointments because, you know, nothing offsets a really rough day. Like just rubbing some ointment on it, man. A little bit of Tiger Balm. Throw it on there. A little bit of Bengay. Just buff it out. Okay, so now having resupplied, I think we're ready to go on adventures. Let's head on out into the great wild yonder and see if we can get ourselves into some trouble. As I said previously, there's been some lights that are coming out of a crypt, and people want us to investigate that phenomena. And so we're going to wander the open world for a little bit. You can forage berries. You can hunt animals out here to make money off of their hides if you want to. There are like supplementary activities that you can participate in, but an important thing to keep in mind is that this game is intended to be like really detailed and have a lot of stuff going on and a lot of overlapping systems, and a lot of those systems are not implemented in the game yet. So there's a pretty good chance that if you're ever playing this game and you get that odd feeling that like maybe something's missing, it's probably because it is. The developers have plans to have caravan mechanics. They have plans to add alchemy and crafting and sort of the ability to refine and create your own stuff. None of that is in the game as of yet. For right now, they're actually trying to finish off the map, and that's what this most recent patch was all about. Adding more enemies, fleshing out the new city that came out with the City of Gold update, adding more vendors, things of that nature so that the game has more progression for you to be involved in. For right now, though, we're just picking berries, running around in the back 9, picking berries. Let me see if I can get to this crypt without getting in too much trouble. Now, this is definitely mid-game content. That's something to keep in mind, is that this is me about 10 or 11 hours into the game. I've got a reasonably well-geared character, but we're taking on mid-level quests. So if we get in here and it gets really rough really fast, we may have to disengage and just sort of take this slow. One thing that I do appreciate about the most recent patch is they made it so dungeons spawn closer to town. Given the way that the save system works in this game, and I'll kind of talk about this in length a little bit later, but basically this game has a very unorthodox save system. I can't like quick save whenever I want. The game auto saves whenever you go into a building or like through a door or whatever, but that auto save can only be loaded if your game crashes. What ends up happening is, when you die, it takes you back to the last time you slept. A lot of people do not like that save system at all, and I can totally understand why. Like, I get it. That's a really rough and punishing thing. You die halfway through like a, hour and a half long dungeon. You probably lost about an hour of progress between the travel time and getting down in there, but it does make the game a lot more intense, and it does make the game feel a lot more heart-pounding, I guess. And so I'm kind of on the fence about the save system, but the save system does hinge the game for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people see the save system and they're just like, no thank you. Let's rob Grandma's grave. Oh, we got attacked by a ghosty boy. I can see if I can fight him. He vanished. All right, well, I'll just loot his grandma's Ooh, a gold brooch? Grandma. They buried you with the good stuff right there. Okay. Where's this ghost at? There she is. All right, we got to kill this ghost off. This ghost is going to be an issue if we don't deal with it. There we go. I love killing ghosts in this game because they give you an inordinate amount of XP. Like, this game... Ooh, that's a really geared out Skeletor right there. Yeah, he's got a lot of gear. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get him to walk across the spike trap. The enemies in this game, they do interact with spike traps the exact same way that you would interact with spike traps, which means if you can trick them into being on top of the spike trap will do all your work for you. Just like that. I've killed entire dungeons just cheesing spike traps. It's great. I love it. Ooh, a bearded axe, huh? I'm bearded. It's bearded. It does 20 slashing damage. It's still not as good as what I've got. But yeah, the save system. That's the first thing that I would like to make very apparent to anybody prospectively buying this game, is that the game does have a save system that can be quite punishing from time to time. There we go. Get a little bit of damage off on him. He's got a long weapon, so he's going to be able to hit us from 2 ranges away. I've got a couple of different attacks right here. Axes have a gimmick in this game, and in fact, every single skill has a gimmick in this game. If you take a look, the skill lists are starting to populate on out. I don't know how many there were the last time we played the game, but I feel like a lot more of these were grayed out last time we played the game. There are many, many skills in this game. You must be careful in how you allocate them, because true to life being a hardcore RPG, there is no respec in this game. Yet another important fact for people that might not like that. You have to make it count in this game. You have to choose very, very carefully what you want to add to your character. But there are many different skill trees, and as you put points into these various skill trees, every single skill will have an active effect and a passive effect. And you can see those on the tooltip right there. And so putting lots of things into the same tree tends to be very, very beneficial. But as I was saying, the new trees that they added Electromancy with this patch, and they added Magic Mastery with these patch, and they both look like pretty girthy trees. I did make a character that played Electromancy for 4 or 5 hours, but I found it wasn't the flavor for me, which is odd, because normally when I play games and I'm a mage, I usually go for electric or cold mages, but in the case of this game, Electromancy, I was kind of like, meh, about it. Like, it was fine. I feel like I could probably use, like, a little tiny bit of a buff, but, like, I'm not a game designer, so I'm always a little bit hesitant about making recommendations like that. Where's this other bad guy at? Wow, there was, like, 4 of you in here? There was a lot of zombies in here, man. I didn't really want to pick that up. It was on the tile where I wanted to move, but fair enough. There goes another zombie. He's now dead, and we've gotten ourselves a W. I didn't want to disarm that. I wanted to look at the bearded axe and see if it was worth taking. Resale value on items in this game is not great. Just something to sort of keep in mind. Like, I've been streaming the game a lot on Twitch, and people frequently ask, like, why aren't you picking up all the gear that's on the ground? The resale value is like 10% of the market value in this game. You can reasonably expect to get 10% of whatever is noted on the card over there. And so, in general, it's usually not worth hauling a whole bunch of gear out of a dungeon. You usually want to go for treasures and things like that. We've got a little bit of money right there, which is good because I am broke. I just bought this shield, and I just repaired all my gear, and so I am flatly out of cash right now. This guy might be a risk, actually. I can't get him to the spike trap. All right, let's open on him. He's got really good... Ooh, we critted him for 26, though. You love to see it. However, he is chunking us right now. This game is very, very high RNG. Yet another thing that prospective buyers need to be aware of. There is a lot of RNG in this game. That's just a fact. Your attacks have RNG. The gear you have access to has RNG. Everything in this game is RNG. If you don't like dice rolling, this may not be the game for you. Once again, the developers have a very, very specific idea of what this game is going to be, and thus far, they have not been bullied off that point in years of development. Like, they flat out tell people on the forums, this may not be the game for you. And actually, like, I sort of respect that. Even when it comes to the systems in this game that I'm not particularly a big fan of, I sort of respect that they stick to their guns and, like, they have this idea of the game that they want to make, and they're going to make it. I splinted my leg because we've got a minor injury. You don't want to hold on to injuries in this game. Injuries are bad. Look at that list of debuffs right there. Being injured in this game sucks. You do not want to go into battle injured, and so I'd prefer to buff out injuries as soon as possible if I can, with like splints and ointments and goos and plant fibers and things of that nature. We can rest off some of the damage right here, and you'll see that fall off in just a minute. This is also giving us a second or two to get rid of the pain that has accumulated on our character. As we take hits, this pain is going to go up, and at certain thresholds, we're going to get debuffs that are related to the fact that our character is in a huge amount of pain. If you max out your pain meter, you can actually go into shock, and your character can die of cardiac arrest from just being in too much pain and, like, blacking out. We did level up. We do have a number of stats here. Everything, well, the stats are actually a little different in this game. So, strength is going to give you higher block chance and deal more damage to body parts specifically. Agility is going to make it so you have a higher chance to counter the enemy and less chance of fumbling your weapon, which basically nerfs your damage by half. Perception allows you to see traps and get like better accuracy and a higher vision range and all that kind of stuff. Vitality allows you to get more energy and more energy resto. And then willpower is going to allow you to lower your cooldowns and make your abilities cost less mana. And so anyways, every 5 of these points, you get an additive bonus. So if you put 5 points into strength, you'll get extra weapon damage, extra crit efficiency, so crit damage, and extra damage to your opponent's armor to shred it faster. And so there is a benefit to stacking these things over here. So for right now, I'm working on vitality, and I've already put strength up to 15. I'll probably put agility up to probably like 13 or 14, just to get my fumble chance down and my counter chance up as I get further on into the game, but I haven't done it yet. Let's search for traps. There were no traps. However, there was $7. And if you're the kind of man that walks away from $7 just casually laying on the ground, you and I have nothing in common. $7 is awesome. There's not a lot of cool things you can do with $7 because everything fun costs $20, but it does get you a little bit closer to $20, like a third of the way. This guy's going to try to run from me, unfortunately, and we need to catch him. Luckily, he's going to stop the cast, and that's going to give us a great opportunity to take him out. I was talking about the benefits of running axes earlier. Axes in this game, they deal injuries, so they deal huge amounts of body part damage compared to other weapons, and then all the abilities that you have with your axe, they deal more and more damage or have more and more crit based on how many injuries you've stacked on the enemy. That means the axes are kind of like a minigun. They need to spin up for a little while before they hit their maximum damage potential. Other weapons do different things. Swords are all about counterattacks and bleeds. Spears are all about controlling the area of engagement and pushing the enemy around and forcing them into tiles where you want them to go. Two-handed weapons are all about just brawling huge amounts of damage. Maces are all about staggers and stuns, which nerf the enemy's stats and make them lose turns, and then you get bonuses for attacking guys that have those debuffs on them. An Aldorian long axe. Sorry, Aldorian grandma. I don't really want your axe. There's a rat over here. How's that for dungeon cliches in a video game? We've also got another bad guy right there, but he's not triggering. Is he stuck? Ooh, we got a crit because he was unaware of us. I feel like that was maybe a little bit of a bug, but hey, I'll take it. This game is hard enough and hardcore enough that when I get cheesy victories, I don't even stress about it. I just accept it because I'm probably going to die to something cheesy a little bit later anyways. Now we got a zombie over here. We'll go ahead and take him out. He just called out that he has an injury, so we want to use our strike that capitalizes on that injury. Wow, we have put a lot of damage across it. Oh, there's a necromancer in there. That's not great. Okay, so we need to fall back real quick so that we're fighting in a hallway. Oh, no. Yeah, we kind of have serious issues right now. We need to go. We are getting ganged up on pretty good. And like 3 and 4v1s are not something that I think are going to be plausible right now. I would like to close this door if I can. Yeah, just break off that line of sight and see if we can get out of here. I don't know how many of them are going to follow me out of the dungeon. We're still in combat right now, kinda. Okay, we're not in combat anymore. But we have gotten ourselves into a little bit of a situation. So that's the dungeon boss right there. And he resurrects stuff that I kill. We stumbled into the boss. And we're not... If I could target the boss first, we're in good shape. But the boss is behind a pikeman. And that pikeman is going to hurt like hell. Like, he's really, really, really going to sting. And so I'm a little bit at war with myself right now about how I want to deal with this situation. Because we definitely can't 1v3 that pack. Like, that's just flatly not going to happen. So, well, since we're on camera right now and I don't want to be thought a dwarfish coward, I say we just YOLO it. We'll see what happens. I don't think we can take them in a straight fight. But if I can bait them through the door, I might be able to make this work. Enemies do transition in between zones, in case you were wondering. We're not in combat right now, though. So I just gotta kind of like, if I could just cheese one of them through the door, the pikeman's gonna get here faster than the necromancer will. I gotta drink some water real quick, because I don't want the water debuffs. They might actually not be following right now, strangely enough. Alright, let's see if he follows now. I do have a pretty serious debuff on me. It raises the amount of damage I take by a lot. Well, they're not following, so maybe the undead can't be in the daylight. Hard to say. I'm going to fight with my back to the door for... Well, I can't fight with my back to the door. But what I can do... Shield up. And we just got to drop this guy. We really have no other way out of this. He's down. So that's a good start. This guy does have backup, though. But he's only got a knife, and he's only got wizard magic. So if we can drop him before his spells refresh... Yeah, we got him. We got him good. We need to get out of here before nightfall, though. Because there's a caveat to this dungeon. This graveyard right here, it's going to be crawling with ghouls once nighttime gets here. That's bad. Ghouls are a big problem in this game because just like the Nachtzerers and Battle Brothers, which is actually the best thing that I know how to compare this game to. Like, this game is actually like the roguelike single-party character version of Battle Brothers. Like, it's got the same level of randomness. It's got the same level of RNG. It's got injuries. It's got in-depth character destruction and whatnot. Like, that's actually the game that I would compare this to the most. Like, if you took one character from Battle Brothers and made an RPG about them, that would actually be fairly close to what this game is mechanically. Just with how hardcore, how brutal, how quickly death happens. That's probably what I would compare it to the most. But anyways, as I was saying, this place is going to be crawling with ghouls really, really soon. And we may have to spend the night inside the dungeon, and since there's no clock, and there's no way... Since there's no clock, and there's no way to verify what time it is, that can become a very risky prospect. So I sort of feel like we should fall back to town, sleep till morning, save, and come back. And I think that's what I'm going to do, just in the case of, like, it's always the best in this game to err on the side of caution, because this is such a brutal game, and you lose so much progress whenever you die, that, like, even if it takes me 15 minutes to walk back to town and sleep and then come back to the dungeon, it will save me, like, an hour and a half's worth of dungeon crawling, versus going in there, clearing the place out, coming back out of the dungeon, getting overwhelmed by ghouls that are all eating each other and upgrading to like tier 2 and tier 3 ghouls, and then getting murdered and losing all that progress, especially when that was not an easy dungeon to begin with, and we've had a fair bit of good luck with our crits and our rolls and our parries and everything else. I think it's probably in our best interest just to Just to be pragmatic about this. Go back and save, and then come back and finish it off. So I made the rotation. We're all the way back at the dungeon right now. I went and I saved, and I sold off a little bit of our loot. That way we were all good and covered. Apparently there's a shovel over there. I could dig up some graves if I really wanted to be a douchebag. But, you know, I feel like dwarves, they kind of like respect the elders, so we're not going to do that. A cool thing about this game is that your race does actually matter. Like, people reference your backstories and whatnot if they're aware of it. And then on top of that, they've added things to kind of populate the game world. And in doing so, the game world has things like shrines and whatnot around, and human characters can, like, pray to them. But, like, characters that are not human cannot. And so, like, the first thing I did, because the buffs are considerable, is I tried to, like, pray at a shrine when I first started playing this character. Couldn't do it, actually. Couldn't do it. He said, these are false gods, and he refused to pray at the shrine, which I thought was a really, really cool kind of world-building feature. Like, something that would get overlooked in a lot of other games. We do have that footman's mace up there, but I think we looked at it, and it was pretty chunked up, and so I don't think it's going to be that helpful. I am wet right now. That sucks, because if you're a certain level of wet, your gear starts to degrade if it's made out of metal. And so mine is very much degrading right now until that wetness gets off of us. And there's not going to be much that I can do about it. There's really not a lot of salves for that particular issue. This guy's going to charge me, I think. Oh, he didn't. Okay. Your bones are broken? Well, like, respectfully, what else was going to break? That's like all that you have is bones. That's worth 20 bucks. Whatever. We haven't picked up that much loot so far. I need to make sure that I'm scanning areas, though. 72 bucks. Yeah, I'll take that. And then some Saiga horns right there. A little bit of... This game has a tremendous amount of loot variety, by the way. There's everything from, like, golden candlesticks to rings to just random this and that you'll find around that you can sell for money. We do have a ghost to deal with over here, but there was a nice magic spear in there. There's a brooch, a gold medallion. Does your chain hang low? Does it wobble to the flow? Does it shine in the light? Is it platinum? Is it gold? I remember when that song came out, I thought to myself, like, prior to that song releasing, that's an old song now, but I'm old, so I remember it coming out. Anyways, before that song came out, I frequently thought to myself, like, it's weird that nobody has remixed the Ice Cream Truck song that plays in MIDI, you know, boo-doo-boo-boo-boo, and then that song came out, and I was like, see, somebody had the same idea that I did. That was our quest right there. We got rid of the glowing light, but there's still more dungeon to dive. And, like, I'm feeling like I could probably still get some more loot. Like, I feel like it's not a bad idea. We've got... I don't even know what that guy is. I don't know what he's wielding. What is that? I guess it's just like a sword. I don't know. There's two of them, though, and that concerns me. I'm going to get close enough to the door that I can disengage if I need to and run away if my health gets low. I'm just going to pull them back to a pinch point. This game is hardcore enough that it pays to play a little bit cheesy. I didn't bring some of the stuff that I normally bring with me. So normally when I'm dungeon diving, I have things like nets so that I can have, like, Murmelo strats where I can pin one guy down with, like, a throwing net. And then, like, I have, like, bear traps and booby traps and things like that for the enemy to step on. Unfortunately, I didn't bring it with me this time around, and so that's kind of where we're at. We will fight this guy, though. We'll see whether or not RNGesus favors us. Yeah, this shield was the best investment I ever made. Like, my character innately has, like, a 15% chance to block, but the shield buffs it up to, like, 50, and then if I pop my 4-key ability, it takes it up to, like, 65. And, like, man, that shield was the best thing that I ever purchased for myself as a mercenary. I am telling you. Like, sword and board just doing a great job for me right now. Short sword doesn't really have a whole lot of value. We do have some, like, minorly interesting items right here. And I think there's only one more room for us to go through anyways, so we'll just grab all the loot out of here. And then we'll headbond... Oh, that is another spear guy in here, too. There's like a little peasant zombie. Are there more of you in here? God, I hope not. I bugged out the door right there. This guy's going to try to pull me to him, so I might as well charge and just get all up in his face. Like I said, spears in this game are all about controlling spacing. And in fact, I really, really like the spear gameplay. I have made the spearman before, and I found his gameplay style to be very much to my liking, because he just allows you to control basically everything inside of like 2 tiles around you. If you want this guy over here to get pushed on top of a trap tile over there, do it with your spear, push him on top of the tile. If a guy over there is casting spells at you, grab him with your spear and pull him back to you. Like, it's a very, very fun, dynamic play style that I liked a lot. We just had a bout of optimism. That's because our character's psyche is doing very well right now. You want to keep your character's mood up by drinking lots of alcohol and making sure that you, like, sleep off the pains of, like, a bad adventure. We do have a wizard over here. Oh, Jesus, that's really bad. Okay, this room is a potential character killer. In fact, I would say it's almost a guaranteed character killer. This could get rough. So realistically, what I want to do is I want to fight in this hallway over. I think one peeled off, so that increases our chances of surviving. We're not guaranteed living here because the guy in the back is going to be putting lots of debuffs on us. Yeah, we're dead here. Actually, kind of depends. It's going to be a close one. Oh, we managed to pull it off. And that's like where, this is the fundamental thing for me with this game, is that there's so much RNG and it's so random and the game is so brutal and it's so deadly and the save system is so punishing. But at the same time, it makes fights like that like really, really intense. That little 15-second fight like had my heart pounding because like I thought I was going down. Like that necromancer, he puts a debuff on you that makes you take like plus 15 damage from every damage source, regardless of your armor. You know what I mean? Like, it's bad. It's really, really bad. And so anyways, like, simple fights can just be really, really, really intense in this game. And, like, that's why I'm so on the fence about it, is because I think if the game lets you quick save, like, whenever you wanted to, wherever you wanted to, it would lose that intensity. But at the same time, the RNG and the randomness and the loss of progress in this game can be tremendously disheartening to like a really, really high extent. And so like I can see both sides of the argument, like the people that don't like it and the people that do. Like I can definitely see both sides. So I really think like in this case, the best thing you can possibly do is just let people know like, hey, this game has a number of aspects that can be very, very frustrating if you're not into that to begin with. Like, if you don't play a lot of hardcore roguelikes like Cataclysm DDA, Caves of Cud, Tales of Maj'Eyal, where you're used to being just, like, strictly and hardcore punished, you know, this may not be the game for you. This may be an RPG that frustrates you, like, very, very much. And there's not a whole lot that's going to change that. Like, the developers have really stuck to their guns with this game. Like, people have said, like, we want this, we want that, we want this, we want that, you know? Lower this aspect of the game. Like, add to this aspect of the game. Oh, he got me. Well, there you go. I got toasted. So after that hideous defeat right there, I tried to replay that section, but there's some pretty nasty mobs inside of there. Like, it's not that the mobs are bad, it's that the mobs are in combination with one another, and in combination, they become difficult. There's just a few too many casters back there, and I think the risk of repeatedly dying and having to walk back to the dungeon, which I've already done twice now in between, like, that last death, we're just going to leave that alone. But I left that in for a reason. Because a very important hallmark of Stoneshard is that it is okay to walk away. You don't need to 100% every single dungeon. It is totally fine and acceptable to get the job done and extract. That's it. Like, this is not one of those games that, like, every single challenge is going to be winnable. With where your character is at in his development, sometimes there will be spots where the combination of casters and melees, it's just going to be too much for you to deal with. Like, you're not going to be able to handle it. Like, they're going to be covering each other's blind spots. They're going to be strong against something that, like, maybe you are good at. Like, maybe your character's gimmick does not work against that grouping of enemies. and it's okay to walk away. So while it does make me take a little bit of a hit to my pride and my ego, because like this is one of those games that I consider myself to be fairly well appraised of, and like I would like to perform well on the video here, I did take a runner right here for a reason. And that's because sometimes in this game, it's just not prudent to keep banging your head against a challenge. In that dungeon right there, there's a wizard back behind that guy that we died to, and that guy's got really, really heavy armor. And it's not a thing that stacks up, especially since we basically got the major loot that's inside that dungeon as of right now. And so, like, the vast majority of it is already inside of our pack. By banging our heads against that and risking repeated deaths, there may be, like, another 200, 300 gold down there. Not worth it to me. Let's just go back, take our victory. We'll take our victory lap around town and be kind of the celebrated hero of Manshire, and we'll do our thing. But anyways, this is Stoneshard. I think this game is good, but I think this game is not for everyone. And I'm going to explain to you kind of like why that is. I think I've done a pretty good job of corralling it all over the course of the video, but I'm going to try to condense it right here. So I guess the anecdote that I'm going to go with here is that, like, I personally grew up playing AD&D, that is to say 2nd edition. It was dangerous. It was a really dangerous tabletop game. Your character could die at any moment, especially at low levels. RNG was a huge factor, and you had to not only play to your strengths, you also had to play smart from the beginning to the end of like an AD&D campaign. It's fundamentally different from like 5th edition, which is much more streamlined, but it lost some of that danger in the process. Like, Stoneshard is that to modern RPGs. It is a dangerous game with very swingy RNG, a punishing save system, and definite situations that your character is going to be placed in that he or she is not going to be able to handle. And learning to recognize, minimize, and extract from those situations when it gets really, really hairy is going to be key. Just like in Battle Brothers, not every contract is going to be worth it. And even if you play really smart, sometimes you just lose. Sometimes the dice don't love you. It's not a game for everybody. It's for a very specific type of RPG player who enjoys a nasty challenge, a heart-pounding fight, and like the thrill of finally pulling it off and getting back home with your treasure. It's not a bad game by any stretch. Everything about the game oozes style and poise. The sound design is great. The music is fantastic. The pixel art is absolutely stunning. The game is not quite done yet, and even after a long stretch in early access, like, it's still got a long ways to go. Patches come out slowly for this title, which I think for some people might be a deal breaker, and I understand that too. The patches are slow for a good reason, but they were slow before that reason too. It's just a game that I get the feeling the developers are very fastidious about. It's a game where there's 10 different graphics for each item depending on how degraded they are. And like every food has incremental chunks that you bite out of it, you know what I mean? It's that type of game where it's really, really in-depth. But still, the slow patch rate should be taken into account. People that want to play the game right now, probably not going to happen. You're going to be waiting a little while. It's also a game that can be frustrating. I can say personally, I have no shame in admitting that sometimes I have to turn it off from time to time due to a tough loss. But that being said, I can't quite say that there's any other hardcore survival RPG like it until you start pulling in true classic roguelikes. Like, if you've got the stomach for losing progress on bad dice and you're after that intensity, then it's probably a good pick. However, if you're looking for something laid back, Stoneshard is probably a game you want to watch on Twitch or take a pass on. Like, the developers have been abundantly clear that their vision for, like, a hardcore RPG is not going to change in the future and that they're sticking to their guns when it comes to the brutality and the vision of the game. I've been eagerly awaiting content patches for Stoneshard and having a good time with it as they come out incrementally. Still, as anybody who's watched my streams of this game will tell you, it's very, very easy to end up in like this cycle of getting stomped out over and over, even after your character has piled on some equipment and experience. As you saw with that skeleton fight near the end, we were doing a really good job, and our dice were really solid, and then for whatever reason, that fight decided right here and no further. And so I made the prudent decision to just count my losses, walk away with my quest W and the 1,000, 1,500 gold that we made, and accept that, like, the extra 500 gold was going to be more hassle than it was worth. And you should make that decision in Stoneshard. All in all, it's a game that chooses to be what it is, unapologetically, and I respect that about it, even if sometimes I'm not in the mood to play it or it's made me salty. Still, it's rare that a game conjures up situations in the RPG genre for me personally that get my heart pounding. and they have me scanning the screen, like desperately looking for solutions to like a very deadly problem before realizing like, no, I'm gonna die here. I haven't slept in X amount of gameplay time. No. Like, and that forces you to play in a way that tries to keep you out of those situations with like a respectful distance or like a disengaged plan in case this starts to go wrong. Stoneshard is undoubtedly going to be a very unique game when it's done, and that's what keeps drawing me back in. Still, for people that have issues that I've brought up, you know, with the RNG and with the difficulty and with the save system, I'm not dismissing you. I totally get it. This is a polarizing game. Some people are going to love it and it's going to hit, and other people are going to be like, it's not for me. For me, I find the game to be enjoyable in sprints, and other times I get frustrated and I have to walk away, and that's okay. But, you know, I will be streaming the game if you wanted to see more of it. We'll continue playing Jorgrim in the future. I'll probably stream this game for another week or so, maybe, on Twitch. I'm very, very excited about getting to, like, the new content with the City of Gold and the Troll Slayers and all that kind of stuff. Which I haven't got to see yet because I've been kind of resisting the urge to play the game and clear out all the content. So you're welcome to join me there. Aside from that, my name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to, and give you my thoughts on it. Today we were doing, I think, our third checkup on Stoneshard, this time about 10 to 11 hours into the game. I hope it helped. I hope that it was nice to see some mid-game content instead of some early-game content. It took a long time to set up. I'll tell you what, it took me days to get this far into the game, just playing like non-stop, and so hopefully it was fun seeing some further into the game stuff. I'll see y'all later. Thank you for stopping on in. I'll be back tomorrow with something hot and fresh on the Indie Skillet, and don't forget to join me for more Stoneshard on Twitch. Take care, everybody. Thank you for the luxury of your attention, and that's all I've got. Bye-bye.